What is up, everybody? Today I'm going to show you how to make and import a custom terrain into the map editor as a GLB object. I'm your host, impossybull, and let's get started on this right here. Now, as you can see, this custom terrain looks way better than anything you could natively make in the map editor. Now, the one downside is that if you want to play this map with people, you will have to send them the map file manually. They can't download it as soon as they join the lobby like in a normal game, but it is way better as a map, as you can see. And this is in the map editor. All this other stuff is map editor primitive, so the performance is very good. I'm going to show you all of this stuff today. So one thing is, don't be intimidated by the length of this video. There's just a lot of stuff we got to get set up, and it's pretty easy stuff. We're just installing some plugins and whatnot. Just a lot of stuff like that. So really nothing too difficult. And then when you actually want to export one of these, it's like under a minute. Super easy process, and I'll show you that obviously. But just the setup is a little wild for the first time thing. But without further ado, let's get right into this here. So I'm going to leave this lobby here. The first thing you want to do is load up your internet browser, and now if you go down in the description, you will see a bunch of links down there. Be sure to check the description in the comments section for any answered questions. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll answer them. Look in the description. First thing we want to do is download Git. So you want to just go to the link there. You'll see, downloads, Windows, whatever your operating system is. Do standalone installer. Download and install this. Just click through it. Now, the one thing you want to do is it's going to ask you, what do you want to install? And there's going to be one checkbox that says Git LFS something or other. You want to make sure that checkbox is checked so that it's installing Git. I misspelled Git LFS. Now, when I installed it, that was checked by default. So most likely you can just click through the whole thing and that'll be done. And there are a lot of different options. It'll ask you everything. Just keep clicking. All the default stuff's good. So once you got Git installed, the next thing we're going to do is install Unity. So you want to go to the next link in the description. We're doing unity.com/download. Same thing as before. Just hit download for Windows or whatever your operating system is. Download it and install that. That's going to install the Unity hub, which looks like this. It's probably going to ask you to make a Unity account. If it does do that, I would go ahead and make one so you can download stuff from the asset store, which you're going to want to do. So definitely make a Unity account. I don't remember, though, if it actually installs Unity. So if it doesn't, you want to go to the installs here. You want to make sure that you have a Unity version installed. If you don't, just go up to Install Editor, Official Releases, Long-Term Support, Recommended Version, whatever says recommended version, just install that. After that installs, you want to go up to Projects here. Just go ahead and create a new project. Make sure you're on 3D Core. Project name can be anything. Just hit Create Project. Now, the first time you're launching Unity, it will take a long time to boot up. Usually it's like 10 or 15 minutes or even longer than that. So if that's the case, don't worry about it. Just give it time, and eventually it'll boot up. That's just how Unity is. It takes forever. Even on my PC, it took like 10 minutes. Just one of those Unity things. So once Unity's up, though, you will see this window here. I'm just clearing a couple things out. So it'll basically look like this. It'll be nice and empty. So first thing we are going to do is install this one package here. So you want to go to the window up here and go to Package Manager. Now you want to make sure you're on Unity Registry here, right? It says Packages, Unity Registry. Then go ahead and search Terrain like I did here. This should show Terrain Tools, and there's going to be an Install button. Make sure you hit Install. Then once it's installed, it'll look like this. It'll say Remove. I already have it installed, but just click Install. It'll install. Once that's done, close out of this. Then what we're going to do is actually add a terrain object to our scene. So we're going to go up to Game Object here, now down to 3D Object, and go to Terrain. Now, one thing you will notice moving about the scene here, now if you haven't used Unity at all before, you might want to just do a real basic tutorial on Unity, just like the most simplest thing possible. It shows you how to move around and stuff like that. But our terrain is very big. The first thing we want to do is actually make it a bunch smaller. And I think it'll look like this when you first load it up. Mine's a little different. You want to go to this button here. It says Terrain Settings. and then go down here, and we're just going to make it 100 by 100 instead of 1,000 by 1,000. So as we can see, now it's a much more reasonable size for our game. And one thing is you want to make sure that if you're making a terrain for a map, you want to make sure the terrain is the right size ahead of time. And it's scaled properly, because this, if you're like, oh, my terrain's twice as wide as my map, let me just make the terrain 50 by 100. This only scales the terrain. It doesn't crop the terrain, so it'll mess up all the features. And then you're kind of stuck. Though you could fix it with Blender or something, but basically you want to make sure this dimension's right the first time for whatever size of map you're making. So real quick, we're gonna go and talk about how to make a terrain here. Now there is a much better terrain tutorial in the description below. It's the official Unity one, so I would definitely recommend checking that out to learn how to actually make good terrain. We're just going to be doing the absolute simplest stuff possible here, just really quick for this video. You want to make sure this is set on raise or lower terrain. Then you want to go to this brush here and then set the brush strength to about 0.01, and then put the brush size at, like 100 or something, I think is the default. And then this will kind of make a pretty large brush, so we can get some generic features kind of going on here, something like this. And then next, we'll just make the brush a little smaller and kind of add some accents here, a bit of like rolling hills. And then you can, whoops, I hit the wrong button there. If you want to make it shorter, you can go, it's either Shift or Control, depending on how exactly your stuff's configured. And then we can make it a little smaller even than that, and add some more kind of accents over here. But that's about it for this tutorial here. About good enough for the tutorial. Next thing we're going to want to do is do something that will actually export this terrain out of Unity. So we're going to right click here and do Create C# Script, and I'm just going to call this Terrain Export. Now again, down in the description below, you will see Terrain Exporter C# Script. You want to just copy that and paste it into your web browser. We're going to paste bin and grabbing a script. You want to copy all this stuff in the box here from line 1 down to line 217. Make sure you're not copying outside of the box or anything like that. Go back here. You want to open this up. It'll open up in your default IDE. For me, I set it to Notepad just so it doesn't bog down this video by waiting for Visual Studio to load. It doesn't matter what it opens in your computer, because you just delete everything that's in here and just paste this in, hit save, close, go back to Unity. That's literally it. You'll see this thing that says compiling C# scripts. Now, as long as you did it correctly, you will see this one here. Just hit one of the yes options. And yeah, we can get out of Microsoft Edge now, I think. So as long as it compiles correctly, if it doesn't compile correctly, you'll see an error down here. I'm getting a little tired, I think. But this one compiled correctly, and if it compiles correctly, you will see there's actually a new button up here in the menu bar, Terrain, and then we can do Export to OBJ. So what you want to do is click, this is your terrain here that's in the scene. Click this, and then do Terrain Export to OBJ. This will pop up here. And for resolution, generally you want to do an 1/8. That seems to be a pretty good mix between being not too blocky, but also having good performance. So I usually do an 1/8, and then you just want to hit export. It'll ask you where you want to put it at. And I'm just going to export it as an OBJ object there. I'm just going to put it in downloads, but we actually want to add it back to our scene assets. So in here, in the assets folder, yeah, assets there. That's not going to change, but hopefully you're already in there. Otherwise, you're going to be a little lost in this video. Anyway, right-click, Show in Explorer. That'll show us where the asset folder is here. And then we want to go to where we parked our export at here, terrainvideo.obj, and then drag it to our assets folder. Then we go back to Unity. It might refresh automatically. Sometimes you have to go right-click and refresh, but once it does there, so we can just drag that into our scene. It really doesn't matter where you put it, because we're just going to go up here, position, 0 all these back, and then so you see these overlap here. We're going to make this original terrain invisible, so only the terrain video one is showing. So you can see they look different now. This one's just pure white. So now we are going to put a texture on this here. So we are going to create a material, and then we're going to get some textures for this material, and then hence for our terrain. So what I usually like to do, I'll just open up the web browser and type in free grass PBR, and just do something from here. I think I got this one here. Just go, free PBR materials, and it says grass 1 Unity. So just download that. I already have it downloaded here, so we're going to, or one that's similar to it. So just extract all. And then once we have all this stuff here, we're going to want to highlight all of this and then drag it down to our assets window again, just like that. And we'll see Unity is just imported all this stuff into our assets folder. So you want to make sure your terrain, your material selected here, and you'll see all this stuff here, these maps. You want to make this, I can make this a little bigger. You want to put the textures up with these maps here. So this green one is going to go with albedo. The black one goes with metallic. The bluish one goes with normal map. The gray one goes to height map. And then if you see this texture is not marked as a normal map. Just hit fix now. And then this white one goes with occlusion, and that is it. So now we have our material properly sorted out. Now you want to don't click your terrain, click the OBJ here, which I call this one terrain video. Make sure you click this, go over to materials, and then click drag your material into this where it says default material. Then hit apply. That will apply our material to our terrain. Now the one thing you see is, so this terrain's 100 meters by 100 meters. And it's our terrain is very high definition. So if you loaded this up in game, you would be like right down here walking around just kind of like this, about this speed, and this terrain would just be way, way, way too big. So what we want to do instead, go back to our material, and whatever dimensions you set it at, you want to make sure the tiling is set at that. Now obviously if it's a square, it's easy. If it's a rectangle, I don't remember which one goes in which. It might be backwards, it might be the same. But you'll be able to see that these tile as squares. So if I do this, it's 100 by 100. And then, what do I want to do? 100 by 100. If I go back here and then I forget how to make it. Oh, I'm doing the wrong one. Make sure you're not doing secondary maps tiling. So this is supposed to be 1-1. This is supposed to be 100 by 100. You'll see an update immediately there. And like I said, if you're doing a rectangle, you should be able to see that these kind of tile as squares here. If it tiles as like a rectangle like that, then you have these two mixed up. But yeah, like I said, just set these to the dimensions of your terrain, and that will make it look the right size. Next up, what we want to do is we are going to export a GLB. Now, if you started this tutorial and you already had Unity installed, but you had to install Git, what you will probably want to do now is, at the very least, you need to restart Unity and restart Unity Hub. You may even need to restart your computer if you get an error in this next section here. Just kind of a quirk with Unity. Now, if you did it in this tutorial where you installed Git, then installed Unity Hub, then it should be fine. But if you already had Unity open and then installed Git, then you might have to restart it. I'm just saying, if you get an error here, make sure you restart Unity. If it doesn't fix that, restart your computer, try it again. But hopefully we're not going to get any errors in this next section here. So what we're going to do is go to the next link in the description, and we want to go up here back again to the package manager, and we want to click this little plus button up here where it says add package from Git URL. And down in the description it says export to GLB. So you just copy that URL and paste it right in here and hit add. And this one, I don't see an error anywhere. Packages in project. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so if you go packages in project, then it'll tell you adding a new package. So we just have to wait for this to complete here. It should be pretty quick for me because it's already downloaded, but even if it's not downloaded, it'll download pretty quick. It's pretty small. But this is going to allow us to export our terrain to GLB. I know this is going to sound complicated, but I'm going to recap everything at the end, and you'll see it's actually pretty simple. We're just running into a lot of stuff with making materials and installing things and all this sorts of stuff. So if you get an error, it'll be down here, and you can go into the console window, and it'll give you some error about Git or something like that. If you get an error like that, just comment below. But if you did what I said, it should go away. Well, if you followed this video, you shouldn't get it at all. If you do get it, restarting your computer should fix it, or even just restarting Unity. So now we have Unity GLTF installed. So we can close out of this here. Now what we're going to do is we want to go to our OBJ, the one I called terrain video, and go to game object, go to assets, now to Unity GLTF, and then export selected as GLB. Now this will export straight to a GLB in the folder we select. So I'm going to do downloads again, and it'll just dump it right in the downloads folder. It actually opens it up for us, which is kind of nice. So now we have our actual GLB file. Now this is what you need to go into the map editor. So now I'm going to minimize out of all this stuff and open up the map editor if I can find it, or if I even do I even have it on this user? That's a good question. Give me 1 second. Alright, I got the map editor installed here. So what we want to do is just go to where we have our GLB file stored, which I just put it in the download section. Then we want to copy this and then go to our Skillwarz folder and go to models, and then just paste it in our models folder there. Open up the map editor and then go to import GLB, and now we can import this, and it'll be a nice terrain model here. The one thing you want to do is make sure you do not move this around. So just leave it where it is. Don't move it around or anything like that. You want to build the map around this. And if you ever want to change this, then moving around is going to be harder, because then you have to, there's no point, because it's, it's the the floor of the map, the terrain of the map. So don't move this around. What we're going to do here, I completely forgot the default map editor controls. But we can, oh dear, okay, here we go. If I can remember the controls. I'm just going to put a few spawns down here. So that we can spawn into the map in game. And then we also want to put in a death collider somewhere, which obviously we're going to do in a very lazy way. There we go. Death. Done. So let's go ahead and export this here. So we can see it's successfully exported. Now that'll actually make 2 different files in the maps section here. You'll see it is test2345.glb and then tdm test2345.swm. So this is the normal map file we're all familiar with, but it also exports the GLB as its own file. So if you're sending this map to people, make sure you include both, otherwise it's not going to work. But for Skillwarz, it's just the same as loading up a normal, a regular map. Load into this here, and we can just load in. Now, if you have it as an online game, anyone can click join, but they're not necessarily going to be able to actually join. Now this is a little laggy. It's not as laggy as it seems. It's only laggy because I have Skillwarz and Unity and the map editor open all at the same time. That's making things incredibly laggy. I also have I think I have my video settings turned up very, very high. The performance on these is not bad at all. Like I said, I'm running Ultra and having Unity in the background. It is not a good idea. And running OBS and the map editor. Okay, so now it's a bit more normal here. I know it's still kind of stuttery on your screen probably, but as you can see, we have successfully imported the terrain into Skillwarz here. So now I'm just going to recap what I've been doing. I'm going to close out of Skillwarz here to ease up on OBS. Probably close out of the map editor too. Or at least delete this so it's not going crazy on me. So I'm going to load back into the terrain editor here. So let's recall, so going from where we are here, you want to save your project, just Control S, and then I actually think it's two different ones. You do save, then you also do save project here. So let's say you want to make brand new terrain, or you want to edit your current terrain. How do we do that? So you can go ahead and delete this OBJ here, and then make your terrain reappear. Let's say this was fine, but you just wanted to edit it, because I already showed you how to make a new one. All you do is you do game object, 3D object, terrain, and then you just set the size here. But let's say, like, we want to edit this a little bit. So actually, let's say we want to make a nice valley right through this here. So I'm going to turn the brush strength up a little bit and kind of, there we go. And this could be kind of like a riverbed or something like that. We could actually turn the strength up a little bit to kind of raise it back up here, and then move it back down or whatever. Like I said, this is not a perfect tutorial, but so we have this here. What do? So all we do is do terrain export to OBJ and then export. Then you can actually save some time by going into your by making it dump it directly into your assets folder. Now this is just called terrain.obj. Control R to refresh what we have here. Did it export? What happened here? Did we not? Maybe we didn't click on it or something. Terrain export to OBJ. Do 1/8 and then go export here. Like, do my terrain.obj. There we go. And just hit Control R down here to refresh it. Now just make your terrain invisible. Drop this into the scene. Where the hell do we drop it into? Pretty far away, but it's already selected. So you can just go 0, 0, 0. It'll come back to home here. Then all you have to do is make sure, don't click on the terrain here. Make sure you're clicked in here. Then drag your material up to your materials set. Drag your material up to, why is it not happy? You can also just select the material like this. There we go. And then get your material on. Why was it not let me do it before? I'm not really sure. But so we have our material now. We hit apply. And then all we have to do is select this here and go to assets, this GLB, and then go straight into our Skillwarz models folder. Select folder there. Then it'll export that for us into GLB. Then we can load it straight into the map editor. So okay, we didn't like the old terrain. I'm gonna move these spawns up a bit so they don't get lost here. How do I even change the mode? There we go. But yeah, we just import GLB, my terrain, GLB. There we go. I actually moved them up way too high. So there we go. And then we can even just export this again. Oh, I already closed out of Skillwarz, but as you can see, we can export this. It'll load up just fine. We can save this as a project. Save, close, all this type of stuff. New, and then we can just load it right back up. So that's about it. As you can see, it's once we have everything set up, it really does not take that long at all to export these terrains, and they do look really good in game. I know this video is a little bit long, but this did take me a while to figure out, and it is the easiest way I know to do it. Like I said, once you're all set up, really doesn't take that long. It's a lot of stuff in making maps. It takes way longer than this, including making a good terrain itself is the hardest part. The actual exporting thing is just a technicality in the scheme of things. But it's I made this video to show you how to do it, because it's not really obvious how or if it's even possible, but it is. And I hope this video was helpful in showing you that. So if you like this video, please be sure to leave a like. Like I said, again, any questions or comments, leave them in the comments. I'll read them and let you know what I think. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you later.